Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host, Ilyas Bulbulia, and I'll be with you for the next hour. As our regular viewers are aware, the Free Legal Advice Show provides you, our viewers, the opportunity to call in and ask us any questions that you have on any aspect of English law. On this show, I am able to cover a vast, diverse range of matters. Matters ranging from immigration law matters, family law matters, criminal law matters. So whatever your legal questions are, please do get in touch with us here live at British Muslim TV. Two ways of getting in touch. There is a landline number there. So if you want to speak to me live on air, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, another very popular way of getting in touch is to send us a message on the mobile number which also appears at the bottom of the screen. So I can have a live conversation with you in relation to any questions that you have. If you call the landline number, and I can, as always, look at the questions that you send in on WhatsApp or by text message, if you send those through to the mobile number which is there at the bottom of the screen. Couple of minor points before we get going. On a live show, sometimes it's difficult to take very detailed information from viewers who call in. So if your matter is complex, or if I need to look at your documents before I can advise you properly, then I'll ask you to leave your number with the control room, and then I will have a more thorough discussion with you off air, take more information from you. And if I need to look at your documents, I'll look at your documents and then advise you properly. This is a service that we provide absolutely free of charge, which is part of the Free Legal Advice Show. As always, we get numerous questions on immigration law, which is fantastic. Even before we came on today, we had a number of questions coming in, and the vast majority are immigration law questions. Fantastic. Please do keep on sending those questions in. But as I said at the outset, even if your matter is non-immigration law related, family law, criminal law, whatever it is, any legal questions, do feel free to get in touch with us, and I will do my best to try and guide you in relation to the query, the concern that you have. Now, just before we came on, we had a number of questions coming in. Let's look at one of the first questions that we've had in today on WhatsApp. And it's an immigration law question which relates to nationality. Obviously a popular topic. A lot of people here in the United Kingdom on spouse visas. And once they obtain indefinite leave to remain, when they're settled in the United Kingdom, normally they look at becoming British citizens. So question relating to British nationality. And the question that our viewer has put to us is this. Let me read the question out and let's look at the question in detail. My wife obtained indefinite leave to remain recently. When is she eligible to apply for British nationality? Is it correct that she has to wait for 1 year before she is able to apply for British nationality? Interesting question, very popular question in practice as well. And actually, there is a bit of a misconception as to how long individuals have to wait before they can apply for British nationality. The question that our viewer has posed today relates to the typical scenario that you have in practice, which is somebody is here in the United Kingdom on a spouse visa. In this particular scenario, you've got the wife who is in the United Kingdom on a spouse visa, and she has obtained indefinite leave to remain. So there's no time restrictions on her visa. She's able to stay here permanently. And obviously, they're now looking at applying for British nationality. Do they need to wait, or does the wife need to wait 1 year before she can apply, or is she eligible to apply straight away? Now, I think the reason why a lot of people believe that you have to wait 1 year before you can apply for British nationality is because there are some circumstances in which you do have to wait 1 year. There are limited circumstances where you do actually have to wait 1 year before you become eligible for British nationality. But in a typical spouse application scenario, where the wife, as is the case here, has obtained indefinite leave to remain, if the position is quite simple, if the spouse, if the husband is a British citizen, then the wife is eligible to apply for British nationality straight away. There's no need to wait for 1 year at all. She's eligible to apply now. And the distinction, or the important point here, is that when you obtain indefinite leave to remain, however you obtain it, if you have a spouse and your spouse has British nationality, then you are also eligible to apply for British nationality straight away. You don't need to wait at all before you apply for British nationality. So let's say in a situation where somebody has sponsored their wife to come to the United Kingdom, but they themselves aren't British citizens. It may be that they simply have indefinite leave to remain. So they might have a passport for Pakistan, for UAE or India, wherever it is. They haven't obtained British citizenship. They have indefinite leave to remain. So when the wife obtains indefinite leave to remain, she will have to wait 1 year before she becomes eligible to apply for British nationality. Why? The reason is that the spouse is there, but the spouse is not a British national. And that's why there is the requirement to wait for 1 year. But in the vast majority of cases, in a situation where there's a couple, if one of the parties is British, then there is no need to wait at all. Now, so if we look at a slightly different scenario, away from the question that's been posed to us, let's say, for example, somebody is in the United Kingdom with a skilled worker visa, a tier 2 visa, a work permit visa, and they've lived in the United Kingdom for 5 years. They've obtained their indefinite leave to remain. So they've got their permanent stay. What about them? Look, if they're here on their own and they have now applied for and been successful in being granted indefinite leave to remain, they obviously will have to wait 1 year before they can apply for British nationality, because they are on their own here. They don't have a British spouse. They've managed to obtain indefinite leave to remain, not based on marriage to somebody who's British, but based on their own right, based on having completed 5 years under the work permit scheme, etc. So they have obtained their indefinite leave to remain on their own circumstances. And they would normally, once they obtain indefinite leave to remain, have to wait 1 year before they become eligible for British nationality. So there is a distinction there. And I think that's where the 1 year comes up. There are some categories where the requirement is that you must wait 1 year before you become eligible to apply for British nationality, but it doesn't apply in all circumstances. In a typical scenario as this, where you've obtained indefinite leave to remain under the spouse route, once you've obtained indefinite leave to remain and your spouse is British, you are eligible to apply straight away for British nationality. And I hope that answers that question. As I said, this is something that comes up quite regularly in practice. Now, so as always, to speak to us live on air, you can ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, the mobile number's there, so you can send us a message on that as well. Okay, let's look at the next question that's come in. And again, it's an immigration law question. Now, let's read the question out. Salams, hope you're good and well. We applied for nationality in the middle of August of this year. Did the biometrics in the middle of September. How long do we need to wait for the outcome? First question, how long is it going to take? Second question is, can we travel out of the country whilst the application is pending? Okay, so in terms of how long the nationality application takes, whatever time that you count or whatever estimate that you come up with, it's from when the biometric enrollment took place. Now, cases vary. Some are a bit more complex, take a little longer. Some are straightforward. My current estimate as far as nationality applications are concerned is that it's taken approximately 5 months, 4 to 5 months, to get a decision on a nationality application from when the biometric enrollment takes place, when you go to the visa center and have your fingerprints taken. So we're looking at around 4 to 5 months. So if biometric enrollment took place in September, middle of September, we're looking at October, November, December, January, February, potentially around February time. Bear in mind, towards the end of the year, we've got the Christmas period. Some people are taking time off. That does slow things down. So realistically, we're looking at around February time would be a good estimate to get the decision back. In terms of the second aspect of the question, can you travel whilst the application for nationality is pending? Yes, you can definitely travel. There is no restriction on travel at all. Obviously, previously, when you might have made immigration applications, leave to remain, indefinite leave to remain, etc., you're not, as the applicant, you're not allowed to travel, leave the country. Nationality is completely different. Once you've made your nationality application, you've done your fingerprints, you're absolutely free to travel. There is no restriction whatsoever in terms of you traveling outside the United Kingdom is concerned. So not only the applicant who's applied for nationality, but also the spouse, if there is a spouse, both parties can 100% travel outside the UK without any difficulty. Hope that answers that question. We're going to be taking a short break. We're going to be coming back in the next couple of minutes. So please do keep on sending your questions in, and I'll address your questions after we come back from a short break. See you in a bit. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host, Ilyas Bulbulia. To speak to me live on air, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, as always, you can send us a message, WhatsApp message, text message on the mobile number which also appears at the bottom of the screen. A very popular way of getting in touch, which is to send us the message on that mobile number. But as always, we do like to hear your voice, so please do ring us as well, and we can have a conversation live on air as well. Now, next question that's come in, again, it's an immigration law question, quite a long question. 2 bits to the question. Let's split the question up and let's look at what the position is. So our viewer says, hi, my mother-in-law lives in France and has resident status there. She is living in France for the past 25 years. She has a Mauritius passport. She wants to move to the UK. Are we able to apply under the EU settlement scheme? Okay, complex question. I will address that, but we have a caller live on air, so let's turn to that first. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Hello, assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum salam, brother. Thank you for calling.
Yes, but I got some question for you, please.
No problem at all. Yep, fire away.
Yeah, thank you very much. So actually, I got the hearing. My hearing has been done, and I got also the decision issued from the court.
Okay.
And they have granted me.
Oh, fantastic.
The court.
Fantastic.
And they have also given time to the Home Office, which was 2 weeks. But that has been already passed. It's been 3 weeks now.
I understand.
So my question is, does the Home Office, their time is finished, or they can still appeal against the decision?
Okay. The court is normally very strict in terms of time limits. So if they've been given, the starting point is this: in most circumstances, in I would say 95% of cases, the Home Office will not appeal. So the starting point is the Home Office generally does not appeal. Now, let's say this is a case where the Home Office does want to appeal, the 2-week limit is actually quite strict. If they don't apply in time, they will have to explain to the judge why they haven't applied in time. Now, my view is if they haven't applied, I would be reasonably certain that they are not going to appeal against the decision. Now, let's say that they've got 2 weeks to appeal against the decision. If they have appealed, you wouldn't find out straight away. You would normally find out a couple of weeks later. So,
couple of weeks later.
Yeah. So let's say I think they're not going to appeal, so don't worry about it. But let's say in the very unlikely scenario that they do appeal, when the 2-week time limit comes to an end and they submit the appeal, the tribunal then has to process it and send the letters out to the parties. So realistically, by the time the tribunal does that, you're in the 3rd week or the 4th week already. So
it's been 3rd week, so tomorrow is going to be the 3rd week finish.
I think it's
going to be 21 days.
Highly, highly unlikely. I think if you just wait another week and then I think, I personally think they haven't appealed. In my experience, generally speaking, they don't appeal. So, Ashok, you're very lucky. I know you've called quite a few times before. Fantastic result for you.
Okay, thank you very much. And just one more question again.
Yeah.
If they want to send me the fingerprints, like the biometric, how long does that take? Does it take long or does it?
Whether the problem, and I was going to come on to this, the problem is now the delay in processing all this. I mean, work on the basis that for you to get your Visa card with your visa on it, work on the basis that it might take about 3 months for that to happen.
3 months.
Because they will probably write to you and say, we might need to take your fingerprints again. They'll do that, then they'll process it again. You will need a lot of patience now. You have to, I would say, work on the basis that it will take at least about 3 months for the whole process to work itself out.
Okay, so another couple of months, like 3 months.
Easily. I mean, look, we're in mid-November now, December, January, February. I think it'll be February before you get your card. I mean, if you get it sooner, fantastic. But the way things are with the Home Office in terms of, in terms of how slow they are, it's going to take a few months.
Okay, thank you very much, brother. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your call. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. So a good result for our brother who's managed to obtain or be successful at the appeal stage, and no doubt the visa will be granted to him in due course. So just returning to the question that we were looking at, which had been sent in on WhatsApp. Let me just, again, question in 2 parts. Let me just read the first part of the question out, and then we'll address that first. Mother-in-law lives in France, has a residence status there. She has been living in France for the past 25 years. She has a Mauritius passport. Can she come to the UK under the EU settlement scheme? Now, a couple of points there. Can she come to the UK under the EU settlement scheme? The problem is this, that if she had a French passport, even then she wouldn't be eligible to come because the scheme has come to an end. And all we have here is that she's got Mauritian residence permit. So that doesn't really help. I'll look at this in greater detail. Let me take the next call. Hello, Assalamu alaikum. I do apologize. I thought there was a caller on the line. So just going back to this question, in terms of the EU settlement scheme, the Mauritius passport doesn't help. But even if the passport had been a French passport, that still wouldn't have helped because the EU settlement scheme has now come to an end. Now, it may be possible if you have a son living in the United Kingdom with an EU passport, it may still be possible to sponsor somebody to come to the United Kingdom. On the website, it looks like it is still possible to make that application. Now, the second part to the question that was sent in, slightly more complex, is this. Our viewer says, I have 2 children born before I obtained indefinite leave to remain. My wife and I both have British passports. What about the children? What is the process for them to apply for a British passport? Currently, they've got French nationality. Okay, now, the position is this, that they would have to be registered as British nationals. The difficulty is this, that because they were born before the parents obtained indefinite leave to remain, they wouldn't be automatically British. They would retain their original nationality. They might have indefinite leave to remain, but they would have to be registered as British citizens. So they can't apply for a passport, British passport directly, pay the £60, £70 fee for the British passport. They're not eligible to do that. Why? Because they were born before parents obtained indefinite leave to remain. If you're born before, you have to register as British first and then apply for British nationality. If you're born after your parent obtains indefinite leave to remain, then you are automatically British. So that's the distinction. It is a question of when the children are born. Are they born before or after parents obtain indefinite leave to remain? If the children are born before parents obtain indefinite leave to remain, they would have to be registered as British. If they're born after the parents obtain indefinite leave to remain, they are automatically British, assuming they were born in the United Kingdom. So that's the basic position. Thank you very much for that call. Very interesting question. Okay, let's look at the next question that's come in. Question is, I attended an appointment in Manchester for my citizenship, submitted all my paperwork, paid the fees. It's nearly been 5 months, but we have not heard anything yet. Any idea what sort of time frame and who I should contact for further information? In terms of time frame, as I think indicated in relation to a similar question before, the approximate time frame is about 5 months from when the biometric enrollment takes place, but it is approximate. There may be cases which are a little more complex, where the Home Office does want to carry out inquiries, in which case it could take slightly longer. What kind of inquiries do the Home Office carry out? They do a criminal check, they look at your absences, they look at your look at whether there are any judgments against you, they look at your good character, etc. So there are a number of different checks that the Home Office does carry out. Sometimes it takes longer than expected, and that's why there is sometimes a delay. But what can you do when there is a delay on the part of the Home Office in processing the nationality application or any other application for that matter? The problem is there isn't really that much you can do. If you were to phone the Home Office up, they would simply say to you, well, look, 6 months haven't passed yet, so we won't give you an update. Generally speaking, they will only give you an update after 6 months have passed. So first stumbling block is they won't give you an update where 6 months haven't passed. So that's the first issue. Let's say six months have passed, you can give them a ring, they might tell you that it's still under process. You might be able to send them an email for an update. But the problem is, with these cases, you contacting the Home Office, whether by telephone, whether by email, or even through your MP, won't necessarily get the Home Office to progress the application more quickly. All that will happen is you will get an update, and the update may be quite simple, that your application is in process or your application is complex and is being considered at the moment. So you'll get the satisfaction of knowing that it is still with the Home Office, it's not been lost anywhere. But apart from that, you don't really get anything else. Unfortunately, by contacting them or even going through your MP and getting your MP to push them, it doesn't mean that you get a quicker decision. You'll get an update, you'll be told in very general terms where your application is, nothing specific, in very general terms, They'll tell you where your application is. But beyond that, you're not really going to get anything. So unfortunately, lawyers who deal with these matters are quite familiar with delays on the part of the Home Office. The reality is you basically just have to be very patient and just wait until they make a decision. Taking a short break. We'll be back in the next couple of minutes. See you then. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host, Ilyas Bulbulia. To speak to me live on air, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, as always, you can send us a message on the mobile number which also appears at the bottom of the screen. A very popular way of getting in touch, indeed, is to send us a message on that mobile number. And we've had numerous questions coming in already. I'll address those questions next, but as always, you can always get in touch with us live as well and discuss your query with us live. Okay, let's look at the next question that's come in. And our viewer, again, it's an immigration law question, a very popular topic. And the question that's been put to us is this. My wife is applying for a spouse visa from Pakistan. In terms of the documents we need from there, could you go through the documents that I need? So question is, wife is applying for a spouse visa from Pakistan. The question that's been posed is, what kind of documents are needed from the home country? What kind of documents are needed from the wife's side? So again, a popular question that one's asked regularly in practice, and spouse visas obviously are very popular visas in terms of a way of coming to the United Kingdom. So you normally ask, look, I'm here, I'll sort my documents out here. Me, the husband, wife, whoever's here, will say to you, look, I'll sort my documents out here, so I'll show you the documents in relation to my income, my accommodation, etc. I'll do all that. But my partner who's abroad, what does my partner need to provide? What do they need to do? So we can tell them, start preparing what's needed at your end. Understandable. So they can start sorting their documents out. And if you're here in the UK, you can start sorting your documents out. Sometimes it does take longer when you're sorting the documents out abroad. They may even be slower than our home office here. Now, what do you need from abroad? It is relatively straightforward in terms of the documents in this scenario, the documents your wife needs to prepare from her home country. Let me run through, because in my experience, there's about 4 or 5 documents that you need from abroad. Let me just run through them quickly, and then I will go into them in a bit more detail. What do you need from your wife who's abroad? Copy of a passport, English certificate, TB certificate, wedding photographs, casual photographs together. Essentially, that's all you need. A passport, English certificate, TB certificate, casual photographs together, and sorry, the main thing, the marriage certificate. So that's what you're looking at. Let's break that down. Passport. Relatively straightforward. Normally, all you need to get is a copy of the photo page of the passport with the data in terms of name, issue expiry date, etc. Generally speaking, that's all you need. If it's the case that you've met each other abroad, then you might want to copy the entry and exit stamps for the country where you've gone and where you've met. So that sort of goes towards the genuineness of the relationship, where we can say, look, you know what, we traveled and we went to this country, we lived together, spent time together here. So most cases, all you need is a copy of the photo page. Limited cases, you need something more than that, certainly if you're proving that you've spent time together elsewhere in another country. Relatively straightforward. English certificate. Again, it's reasonably straightforward. It's a very basic English test that they do. And you need to be aware that it is a specific test which is done, normally known as the A1 Life Skills Test. In most countries, it'll be the major cities which will have a test centre. It may be that the test centre is operated by the British Council or another trusted organisation. Relatively straightforward. It's a very basic English test that they need to undertake and pass. There are exceptions, limited exceptions. There are also different ways in which the English language requirement can be met. But as I said, the English requirement is a requirement which needs to be fulfilled, and it's normally done by submitting the A1 Life Skills Certificate. So that's the second document that you need from your wife's home country, from your wife. The passport, and secondly, the English test. Thirdly, wife will also need to pass the TB test, sometimes referred to as the medical test. Again, it's a specific test administered by a clinic on behalf of the Home Office. Or should I say, it's an approved clinic, approved by the Home Office. So when you say to your wife that you will need to do a TB test, she can't go to any clinic or any hospital and get a TB test done. She has to go to a specific clinic in order to get the test done, which is accepted by the Home Office. It's normally easy to work out which clinic she needs to go to. If you go onto the Home Office website, the Home Office website will, for each country, set out where these test centres are and how you get in touch with the test centres. So even if you were to put into Google TB test, UKVI, UK Visas and Immigration, spouse application, it should normally bring up the Home Office page with all this information on there. The key point here is that as far as the test is concerned, it's not a test from any clinic or hospital. It's a specific test which is done at an approved clinic or hospital. So that's the third document that your wife will need to submit with the application. We've looked at the passport, we've looked at the English certificate, and the third document is the TB certificate. The fourth document, which I actually missed out before, the fourth document is your marriage certificate. Normally, 99% of the cases, you've gone abroad to your wife's home country and you've got married there. She would have got the marriage certificate. You may well have a copy of that certificate as well. But you obtain you submit your marriage certificate from abroad as well. Straightforward. Again, key point here is that it has to be an official marriage certificate. The marriage certificate which is accepted by the government in that home country. So, key point is it's got to be an official document, whether it's issued by the registry office or whether it is issued by the court in the home country. In very, very limited circumstances, there may be an informal way of getting married which the Home Office accepts. But in the vast majority of cases that we deal with, whether it's India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, UAE, Morocco, Egypt, Turkey, whatever it is, all these countries have a formal marriage process. Similar setup to what we have here, sometimes even stricter than what we have here. And you must go through that strict process. Let me give an example of Morocco. If you went to Morocco and got married, and let's say you just decided that you're just going to have an Islamic marriage at home, and not go through that formal process, then that marriage won't be acceptable. Any marriage certificate that you've got won't be acceptable. It has to be a marriage that's undergone that you undergo according to the actual process established in that country. And in most places, as I've said, they have a similar system to the United Kingdom. There will be either a registrar that you go to, or there might be a court that you go to, a judge that you go to, in order to formalize that marriage that you've gone through. And that's what's required. So, copy of the passport, English certificate, TB certificate, and the marriage certificate. So they're the 4 documents. What else do you need? Lastly, photographs. That's the easiest thing in the world nowadays. Now we've got phones, we can take photos on the phone, so that you don't need any fancy albums anymore. You don't need your video of your wedding. All you need is photos, simple photos, which even if they've been taken on your phone, wedding photos taken on your phone, or casual photographs together taken on your phone. It could be selfies, it could be you've gone out and a friend's taken your phone and taken your photograph together. That's all acceptable. In practice, how many photos do we submit? Home Office actually doesn't ask for that many. I tend to, in practice, submit about 20 wedding photographs, different types of photos with different people in there, and then in terms of non-wedding photographs, again, the Home Office does not ask for much. I normally tend to submit about 20 other photographs, maybe in 4 or 5 different settings. You might have gone to a restaurant, you might have gone out somewhere, gone out with family, different settings, etc. Pictures taken at on different occasions, different times, etc. So essentially, it's not really that difficult in terms of what your wife needs to do abroad. In terms of the documents she needs to get together, that's not difficult at all. There are only a handful of documents that she needs to get together. And in most cases, it shouldn't cause any problems. So just a brief summary of what we've discussed. You'll be getting a copy of the passport, a copy of the English test that she has hopefully successfully passed, a copy of the TB test, a copy of the marriage certificate, and your photographs together, which will include your wedding photographs and your casual photographs as well. So that's their job. And you basically tell them that, start doing that, because copy of the passport you can get straight away, photos, etc., you can get straight away. Marriage, you've already done that. But in terms of the English and the TB test, that might take a while. So it's better if they start on this straight away. We're taking a short break. Inshallah, we'll be back in the next couple of minutes. See you then. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host, Ilyas Bulbulia. To speak to me live on air, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, as always, you can send your messages in on the mobile number which also appears at the bottom of the screen. A popular way of getting in touch is to send us the query, your question on the mobile number, which is fantastic. And as always, we've had numerous questions coming in. And just before the break, we looked at spouse applications, and in particular, what kind of documents one needs from abroad when applying for a spouse visa. And I went through that. The question that's now been posed, looks like a follow-up question, is in relation to the documents in the United Kingdom. I think and in particular, it relates to finances. And let's look at the question that's been posed and then let's address that in a bit of detail. So our viewer says, Assalamu alaikum. Please can you explain how I can meet the financial requirement? I am in employment, earning approximately £20,000 per annum. Can I apply for my wife with that income? So interesting question. And again, when it comes to spouse applications, when you're sponsoring your husband or wife to come to the United Kingdom, in most circumstances, the main issue is going to be the finances of the sponsor. Does the sponsor earn enough money to sponsor the husband or wife who's abroad? So whoever's in the UK, are they earning enough money to be able to sponsor? I think this is the biggest problem with spouse applications. Biggest problem because some people might find it difficult to get a job. Some people may find it difficult to get a job at the right level where they are earning the required amount. Some people might be in employment, they might lose their job, and there may well be a gap before they manage to obtain employment again. So that does cause a lot of problems. And really, in practice, immigration lawyers will try and assess and work out a solution to this in terms of how do we get the spouse application to be approved, how do we sort the finances out. Now, the question specifically that's been posed is that a viewer is earning £20,000 per annum. Can they sponsor their spouse? In one sense, the salary is reasonably good. The requirement, and this is something in very general terms, because what I should say at the outset is the financial requirement when it comes to spouse applications can be met in a number of different ways. So it's not just money that you get from employment or your business which is relevant. There are various different ways in which the financial requirement can be met. So I should say this at the outset, that if your circumstances are slightly different, you should take advice from an immigration lawyer who's a specialist in this. You might be able to meet the financial requirement by way of savings. You might be able to demonstrate investments which have been liquidated and which you can rely on. You might be able to rely on dividends. You might be able to rely on a student grant. There are so many, you might be able to rely on rental income. There are so many different ways in which you can meet the financial requirement. So, if your matter is anything out of the ordinary, you should take advice on it. But let's look at this particular question that's been posed to us. How can you meet the financial requirement where you're already earning £20,000 per annum? In a very, if we look at this in a very simple way, where somebody is earning £20,000 an annum, they're above the 18,600 requirement already. So that's the general threshold that you're trying to get over. So if you're earning 18,600 or more than that, on the face of it, your finances appear to be okay. Normally, if you've been in employment with the same employer, you would need to submit 3 different pieces of evidence to corroborate or to demonstrate your income. You would need a letter from your employer, confirming your employment, what you do, when you started employment, how much you earned, is your employment permanent, fixed term, whatever it is. So an up-to-date letter from your employer confirming your employment. Also need, as I said, if you've been employed for 6 months with the same employer, you would submit your 6 months of wage slips. And in addition to that, the third document that you would submit is your bank statements, 6 months bank statements showing the receipt of salary into your bank account. So in a very simple scenario, all you're showing is that, yes, you do earn more than £18,600 per annum. You've got your employment letter, you've got your wage slips, and you've got your bank statements, which demonstrate, which corroborate all that. So in a very simple case, in the most simplest of cases, that's the kind of evidence that you would be submitting. Now, obviously, life isn't that simple. There could be complications. And in practice, you find that there are normally complications. It could be that you're not earning enough money. Then the question that arises is, how do you get over the £18,600 threshold? Can you show overtime? Can you show savings, etc.? So life isn't always that simple. There are different scenarios, complications. So if your matter is complex, you would need to take advice. But in response to your specific question, your income is enough. Easiest thing would just be to wait 6 months and then submit your application with your 6 months wage slips and 6 months bank statements. Okay, let's look at the next question that's come in. Can you sponsor your wife if your last year's income was £10,000, but this year it's £20,000, with £3,800 from rental income as self-employed, savings of £10,000 in the account as well? So, can you sponsor your wife if the last year's income was £10,000, but this year's income is £20,000? And the answer to that is yes. You only have to demonstrate your income. In this scenario, the person is self-employed. You only have to demonstrate your income from self-employment in the last financial year. So it doesn't matter what the position was in the year before this current financial year. Now, what you've got to look at is you could be self-employed as a sole trader, in which case you will be showing your income April to April. So if you were applying now in November, you would show your income from April 2020 to April 2021. If you apply in April next year, you can show your income from April 21 to April 22. So whichever year you're using, it's only in that last year that you need to demonstrate that your income is enough. It doesn't matter whether your income was low previously. You don't average anything out. You can ignore that as long as you're meeting the income requirement in this particular year. So that's the key thing. Don't worry about your income in previous years. Now, you also say that you've got £3,800 rental income. That can be combined with your self-employed income. So that's fine. You also then mention savings of £10,000. The savings don't really help you, unfortunately. The reason for that is twofold. First of all, you need a minimum of £16,000 before the savings can be taken into account. So the savings don't help you. If you had savings of £20,000, then okay, you've got more than £16,000. So you've got over the first hurdle. You've got savings which can be used towards the income requirement. But here the problem is this, that you can't combine savings with self-employed income. You can combine savings with employment income, but you can't combine savings with self-employment income. So if we go back to your original question where you've said, look, in the previous year, I was earning £10,000 per year. This year, I've earned £20,000 a year. That's fine. You've got nothing to worry about. In terms of rental income, whether it's within the £20,000 or separate, you can show rental income as well. Obviously, if your self-employment income, it reaches £20,000, you don't need to rely on anything else anyway. You've gone over the 18,600. You've got to the 18,600 mark already. So you don't need to worry about rental income. But if your rental income is part of your self-employment, then obviously you're going to have to demonstrate both that you have got your self-employment income and your rental income, but £20,000 would then be enough to get you over the threshold. So there you've got nothing to worry about. Now, I understand your concern that, previously my income was low. To be honest, I mean, we've done many cases where that's the case, where income's fluctuated quite low, it's gone quite high. In my experience, the Home Office hasn't ever investigated that. It's never said, you know what, a year ago, 2 years ago, your income was quite low. Why has it gone up by so much? I've never seen that happen. What I have seen them do is really analyze or look at your bank statements. If you have a lot of money coming into your account, they will accept that you have got profits of £20,000 a year. The problem is, if your bank statements, when you look at it for the last 12 months, if there isn't much activity there, not much money coming in, that could cause the problem. So that's really the issue. Hope that answers that question. Interesting question. Unfortunately, that does bring us to the end of the show. So if you have any follow-up questions, do get in touch with us next week. Inshallah, we'll be back next week at the same time. Assalamu alaikum.